Hey everyone, Wyler here, and today we're going to discuss a heartfelt topic, and this is a video that I wish someone made for me in my youth. Let's be real with ourselves. Breakups suck for guys. I've been through a couple myself, and in the worst ones, I wouldn't wish that feeling on my worst enemy. They're terrible, and they're a costly thing for your peace and happiness. Add on top of that when you have a tendency to overthink things, and it's just a recipe to be miserable every time a major rejection happens. It's often a multi-month or even year process to fix yourself and get back on track. Research shows men actually take it harder in the long run because we like to keep our problems to ourselves and usually have less of an open support network. But here's the good news. No matter how bad it feels right now, you can and will come out stronger on the other side. Let's talk about how. I've been fortunate enough to have gone through many of these in life, and that's the mentality I want us to have. It's a privilege. No matter how sad I was, I couldn't be more happy that it happened to me several years later. And I'm confident that you'll feel the same way as me with time. Today we'll explore my personal stories with breakups, 3 types of breakups, what to do, what not to do, and how to move forward so that we can continue to live happy lives. And fitting for this commentary, we've got Modern Warfare 2 gameplay where we will be going for an emergency airdrop kill streak. Because people who are fresh off of breakups need help, it feels like an emergency, you'll need air support, care packages, and all the support of your team. Without further ado, let's get into it. Let's discuss the 3 types of breakups. The easiest one is a mutual breakup by far, which means both of you decided together that it wasn't working, the feelings just weren't there anymore for whatever reason, and both of you think it's time to move on. Closure from both sides makes this one straightforward and easier than the others. The second type is you broke up with them. You initiated it, and this is a different type of pain. Maybe you have some guilt that your decision's inflicting pain and sadness on someone else, or maybe you're second guessing if you're deciding the right thing. And then the final and worst one, and for most people clicking on this video, I'm sure this is what you have, is that she broke up with you. She initiated it, despite your feelings you have for her. Maybe it's a blindside, maybe you saw it coming, but regardless, you're a mess because you still loved her or were crazy for her. Most of this advice will apply to the category, as I found this the most difficult by far. I've had many rejections and friend zones that for sure hurt, but I've had 3, you could say, official breakups after people I dated for months or even years. Each of these I experienced different feelings, and one of them stands out more than the others, and it took me almost a year to get over. Despite all of this and the dark feelings at the time, I could not be happier that they happened, and everything happens for a reason. I would not have found the lovely lady I'm with today if it weren't for these, and I wouldn't be the man that I am if it weren't for these. I've experienced all 3 types. One in high school, where I made the decision to end it after a few months. One after college, which was more mutual and growing apart after a 3-year relationship. And then one in college where I got dumped and blindsided after about a half a year with someone that I thought that I'd be with forever. So this one definitely hurt the most. Let me start with the 2 easier stories. In high school, I dated someone who I was friends with for a long time before our relationship. And when we dated, I gave it a chance, but I never really felt the romantic connection, so I ended the relationship after a few months. It was clearly the right decision as the relationship was going nowhere, but being the overthinker I am, I really second-guessed it after the fact and felt terrible that I blindsided someone out of nowhere without discussing my feelings first. I felt bad too because I caused someone else's pain, even though it was the right thing to do. Communication is key for these things in the future, and you gotta not drag it on out of respect for them. My most recent breakup was a mutual breakup. I dated someone for 3 years, by far my longest relationship. Initially, early in the relationship, I thought she could be the one for me. But over time, and especially during COVID, I thought we were on completely different pages. She was moving away and going to grad school, and I thought she was a little bit too stress-ridden, and we didn't always treat each other very well during this time. We both got on each other's nerves in major ways, and probably prolonged it for too long before deciding to break up. And I think COVID definitely played a role in this as well. This was an easy one because there wasn't much doubt towards the end of the relationship and we were both on the same page that this relationship should be over. So let's get into my worst breakup that left me a mess for far too long. I met a girl in college, and it was kind of what I'd say it was my first love. The person you're crazy about in the first serious relationship, even though looking back we were so different. I'm a pretty traditional, old school guy, the evil, capitalist businessman, you could say, and she was the more hippie, carefree type with tattoos. I had such strong feelings and confidence it would last forever only a few months into the relationship. I was so young and so stupid. I was struck by Cupid's arrow, blind to any downsides, and ignoring just blatant flaws in both of us. Then randomly one week, she started acting distant, so I confronted her. Of course, she goes on this long conversation about how we're incompatible and bringing up different political and religious views and wants to break up. And honestly, she was right. We weren't very compatible. However, I was completely blindsided, as I thought we were both madly in love with each other. It was the first time I showed real tears in a long time. For weeks after that, I probably belonged in an insane asylum. Stalking social media, obsessively getting the opinions of my friends, reaching out to her to see if feelings changed, and reading word for word into her replies. Unfortunately, she reached out a few times too, saying she had second thoughts about the breakup, which just messed up my head even more. I even began manipulating our group of friends to hang out with me instead of her, and just a lot of that petty stuff. I was engaged in full psychological warfare instead of being an adult about it, which showed my maturity level at the time. I mean, I was just not being a good guy, because I thought she wronged me. I go hard in everything I do, but I wasn't great in controlling my emotions back then, and really was, being destructive and immature. And I regret behaving this way, and probably made it less enjoyable for her and her friends a little bit too. It was all I talked or thought about for months. I couldn't concentrate on school, my job, or really anything productive. I would hope that I'd just run into her walking around campus and she'd change her mind. It was a lot to process for me, and I just didn't have the emotional maturity at the time, as I built my entire foundation of happiness around that relationship, which is another mistake. It ruined the majority of one of my years of college, I'd say, and I wish it didn't. Because looking back, I could not be happier now, despite the terrible time. I was not doing well. We were so different, and it would never have worked, or if it did work, I would have had to compromise who I am. In my current relationship, I've learned what real love and compatibility is like. And all those previous relationships were learning opportunities and opportunity for me to mature emotionally. You deserve to be with someone who's crazy about you, not questioning you. So, let's talk about the importance of getting closure and distancing yourself. You need to quickly decide if this is worth saving. Did they do something irreversible? This could be a big lie, they cheated on you, or just something that broke trust. If they did, your decision's easy. Move on and don't look back. If not, the gray area is not a great place to be, where you'll be overthinking and second-guessing what you did for months to come. In most cases, it's best to move on regardless and focus on yourself. If it's meant to be, they'll come back into your life. Give yourself closure if she didn't. Remember, if they're having doubts, do you even want to be with someone who doesn't believe in you? If it's the gray area, talk to them about it, but don't be afraid to become the distant one. Give them a taste of their own medicine. People find it very attractive when you go out and work on yourself, and it's amazing who will come back. It's amazing how many people who rejected me reached back out months or years later when they saw me doing well for myself. Funny story about this. One time, maybe a few weeks after my bad breakup, I decided that I wanted to change my job situation because I was unhappy, I wasn't making much money, and so I decided to go attend a career fair. I wore a suit that day and happened to bump into my ex on my way to class. She seemed very curious as to what I was doing. I mean, normally I'm wearing a sweatshirt and sweatpants. But she was asking questions, and obviously I was looking pretty dapper and handsome that day. And I intentionally tried to seem like I was in a huge rush, even though I wasn't. I'd love to talk right now, but I'm busy. I got to get to a business meeting. I don't have time to talk to you. You rejected me. Like, that's the vibe I wanted to give off, which, it's pretty stupid, but that was just what I did back then. So she texted me back, asking more about it. I mean, they always come back, but the moral of the story is improve yourself and don't focus on her. Focus on your future. So let's talk about what not to do after a breakup. Number 1, you do not contact them. Just don't do it, guys. Trust me on this one, especially if they did you dirty. You will feel like you're in hell if you're still talking to them, reading into every sentence, trying to interpret if there's some hidden message in there. Cutting off contact helps you regain control of your emotions. The more distance you have, the faster you'll heal and start focusing on yourself again. If you're the one who ended it, also, don't reach out to them. Respect their recovery process and be kind enough to not mess with their head. Number 2, don't dwell on them. Don't stalk social media. Delete Instagram and Facebook if you have to. Just whatever to do to avoid seeing their face, because it's going to ruin your day. Delete old photos and just don't think about her as much as you possibly can. For your purposes, they don't exist in your life anymore. It should go without saying that any sort of physical relationship with them or a situationship after the breakup is a terrible idea, especially if you're the person with the feelings, as it will prevent you from moving on to someone who actually loves you. Also, do not engage in destructive behaviors like excessively drink, smoke, or just anything that's destructive to your body. Or like hooking up more, things like that as well. It's not the healthy thing to do. I don't need to explain it. Don't pick up bad habits. When I was a mess, I picked up drinking and smoking more, and that didn't solve my problems. It just made them worse. If anything, it made me more sad. So find healthy things to do, which leads me to my next section. What to do after a breakup. This is a big time for reflection. I want you to think about what you've learned from the relationship and, feel the emotions. It's normal to feel emotions. Use this knowledge to build something even better in the future, and you know what to look for in your next partner. Accept that it's ending, Think about what you liked and what you didn't like, and use that information for your next relationship. Find distractions to occupy your time so you're not just sitting there thinking. Overthinking is your worst enemy. This could be video games. This could be hanging out with friends, trying new things. I mean, make sure if you're doing that, doing a healthy amount. Don't just sit there, escaping the world with video games like I've done too many times in my life. But, go out with the boys. Go have a good time and just forget about that stuff. If you want to, one thing that helped me, I started going to church again. I wanted to reconnect with God. If you're religious, great thing to do. Helped me out a lot. But at the end of the day, just continue to improve yourself. If you're ready, message some girls too. Nothing helps you get over someone faster than finding someone else you like. Just make sure you're doing it with intention and not in a shallow way. Fellas, I know you feel terrible. It's just going to suck for a long time. Be prepared for that. But believe me when I say it's actually a blessing, an opportunity for a fresh start to find someone who actually loves you, which is a powerful thing. As cliche as it is, time does help. You will find someone much better for you in the future, and you will find someone who's thrilled to be with you, not questioning it. Now is a critical time in your life to make something of yourself. Make them jealous they lost you, and move on to someone who gives you the love and attention that you deserve. You'll make it through the dark days. You got this. The pain won't last forever, and one day you'll look back and be grateful for how much you've grown. Until then, just focus on becoming the best version of yourself. You're stronger than you know, and better days are ahead. That's all for today. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.